Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast. Presented by Stephanie Williams and Greg Lewis.
Right, let's dive in. We're tackling Ethereum today. You sent a ton of stuff. Articles, research, even some of your own notes. Seems like you really want to get this. So think of this as your crash course, Ethereum from the ground up, from its early days to what the future might hold. Honestly, I've been kind of geeking out over this stuff you sent. Did you know Ethereum wasn't just about making a new cryptocurrency. It was about rethinking what blockchain could do. And those smart contracts. Mind-blowing. We're going to break down all that jargon, gas fees, the merge, all that, so you can, impress your friends at parties. So let's go back to the beginning. I was reading about Vitalik Buterin, this programmer who dreamed up Ethereum back in 2013, and it officially launched in 2015. Talk about being ahead of the curve. What was the big idea behind it?
Well, Bitcoin was already, making waves, but it had its limitations. It was really designed for peer-to-peer digital currency. Buterin saw a much bigger picture, I think, for blockchain. He wanted a platform, right, where developers could build all sorts of decentralized applications, not just limited to financial stuff.
So it wasn't so much about the currency, but opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. Ethereum was meant to be a platform for innovation, a kind of decentralized world computer where anyone can create and deploy applications. No permission needed from any central authority.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. One thing that really caught my eye in your research was this big upgrade, the merge. It happened back in 2022. Sounds pretty dramatic, almost like a heart transplant for the blockchain.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. The merge switched Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake. It was a huge effort, years in the making.
Yeah, I remember reading about it at the time. Honestly, I think the technical stuff went over my head.
Mm-hmm.
Can you break it down for us? What does this proof of stake thing even mean? And why was it such a big deal for Ethereum?
Imagine you're trying to decide something as a group, right? In a proof of work system, it's everyone's shouting their opinions. Whoever shouts the loudest or has the most powerful voice wins. Requires a lot of energy, and it can be chaotic. Proof of stake is more like a calm discussion where everyone who wants to participate has to put up a kind of deposit. The more you put up, the more your opinion matters, This system is way more energy efficient, and it also tends to be more secure.
So it's like going from a shouting match to a more organized, efficient voting system. That makes a lot more sense. Mm-hmm. But what was the impact? Did it actually make a difference?
Oh, absolutely. The merge really cut down Ethereum's energy consumption. Some estimates say over 99%. Huge win for the environment. And it also paved the way for future upgrades that could make Ethereum even more scalable and efficient.
That's pretty impressive. Sounds like the team behind Ethereum is constantly pushing the boundaries, always innovating.
Absolutely. And it's not just a small team either. It's a whole global community of developers, researchers, enthusiasts contributing to Ethereum. It's truly decentralized.
Speaking of the team, I ran across some interesting names going through your stuff. Vitalik Buterin, Gavin Wood, Joseph Lubin, even Charles Hoskinson, who went on to create Cardano. What were their roles in those early days of Ethereum?
It's really fascinating how such a diverse group of people came together to create something so revolutionary. Vitalik Buterin, of course, he's the visionary founder, right? The one who came up with the whole concept of Ethereum. Gavin Wood, he played a key role in the technical architecture and created the Solidity programming language, which is what's used to write smart contracts.
Solidity, that's the language these self-executing contracts are written in. Feels like we're getting into the technical weeds here.
We can definitely delve deeper into smart contracts and Solidity a little later. But essentially, Solidity allows developers to create programs that can automate agreements and transactions on the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Starting to see the potential. But we were talking about the other co-founders.
Right. So Joseph Lubin, he was instrumental in fostering the development of the Ethereum ecosystem, especially through Consensus, a company focused on building Ethereum-based applications. And then you have Charles Hoskinson, who had a different vision for the project, and he eventually went on to create Cardano, which you could consider a cousin of Ethereum.
Like a family drama playing out in the blockchain world, huh?
Well, there are definitely different philosophies and approaches in the blockchain community, but ultimately I think they're all striving for the same goal, creating a more decentralized and equitable future.
That's a great point. Okay, I'm ready to really dive into the nuts and bolts of Ethereum now. You mentioned smart contracts. They sound incredibly powerful. Can you break down how they actually work? And what makes them so unique?
Imagine you and I want to make a bet, say, on the outcome of a game. Traditionally, we'd need a third party, someone we both trust, to hold the money and, distribute it based on the result. Smart contracts essentially automate that whole process. We could write a contract that automatically, releases the funds to the winner based on the outcome of the game.
Wow, so it was like a self-executing agreement built right into the code. No need for a middleman. That's incredible.
Exactly, and the applications go way beyond simple bets. You can use them for escrow services, supply chain management, voting systems, even creating new types of organizations like decentralized organizations.
Starting to see why people are so excited about Ethereum.
And we've really just scratched the surface. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about some key components you need to understand when it comes to Ethereum.
All right, I'm all ears, ready to expand my Ethereum vocabulary. So one of the first things you'll run into with Ethereum is Ether or ETH.
Right. I've heard of Ether, but I always just figured it was another, cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. Yeah, it is a cryptocurrency, but it's more than that. Think of it as the fuel for the whole Ethereum network. It's what you use to pay for transactions, run those smart contracts, even participate in the network's security through staking.
So it's kind of like the lifeblood of the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And then there's this idea of gas, which can be a little confusing.
Yeah, gas fees were one of the things that kind of scared me off about Ethereum at first. It's like you have to pay a toll every time you want to use the blockchain, right?
That's a good way to think about it. Gas is basically a fee you pay to miners or validators for processing your transactions and running those smart contracts. The more complex the transaction or the contract, the more gas it needs, and the higher the fee.
So it's like paying for computational power.
Exactly. You're paying for the resources to run your code on this decentralized network. Yeah. It's a way to incentivize those who, keep the network running and make sure it's secure.
Makes sense. Now, I saw some terms like nodes and validators in those articles. Are those the same as miners?
Not quite. In proof of work, which is what Ethereum used to use, miners were the ones verifying transactions and adding them to the blockchain. They would, compete to solve these complex math problems, and whoever got the solution first got to add the next block to the chain.
I remember reading about Bitcoin mining, how it takes all that computing power and uses so much electricity.
Right, that's one of the downsides of proof of work. But with proof of stake, Ethereum switched from miners to validators.
Okay, so what do validators do?
Well, instead of solving puzzles, they put up a stake of Ether, like a deposit. They're randomly chosen to propose new blocks and verify transactions. If they do it right, they get rewards. But if they try to cheat, they risk losing their stake.
It sounds like a system designed to keep everyone honest.
Yeah, it's a way to align everyone's incentives with the overall health and security of the blockchain.
So let's get into some of the cool stuff you can actually do with Ethereum. I'm really interested in those decentralized applications, those dApps you mentioned. What are some of the most exciting things you've seen?
Oh, where do I even begin? The potential is huge. We're already seeing amazing stuff in decentralized finance, DeFi.
DeFi, yeah, that rings a bell. It's like a whole financial system built on the blockchain.
Exactly. With DeFi, you can borrow, lend, trade, earn interest, all without traditional banks.
That's pretty wild, like cutting out the middleman, giving people more control over their money.
Exactly. And because it's all based on open source, transparent code, it can be more accessible, more equitable than traditional finance.
I can see why that's appealing.
And then there's the whole world of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which have just exploded in the art and collectibles scene.
Right, NFTs, those digital things that represent ownership of unique stuff like digital art or music, even virtual land.
Exactly. NFTs have opened up a whole new way for creators to make money from their work and for collectors to own and trade digital assets.
It's crazy how Ethereum's making these new ways of ownership and value possible.
And that's really just the beginning. There are dApps for games, for supply chains, for identity verification, prediction markets, decentralized governance, and so much more.
It's like a whole new internet is being built on Ethereum.
That's a great way to put it. It's like a parallel world where the rules are different and the possibilities are, endless.
Okay, we've talked about the cool stuff, but what about the challenges? I've heard Ethereum's had some growing pains.
While no technology is perfect, one of the biggest challenges has been scalability. As the network grows, it can get congested, which leads to slow transaction speeds and those high gas fees.
Like rush hour traffic on the blockchain.
Exactly. And that can be a problem for some people trying to use it.
Yeah, if it costs a ton in gas fees just to make a simple transaction, that's not exactly user-friendly.
Right, so the Ethereum community has been working hard on solutions to make it more scalable.
Like those layer 2 solutions I read about.
Exactly, those are separate networks built on top of Ethereum. They handle transactions off-chain, which takes the pressure off the main network.
Like creating express lanes on the blockchain highway.
Exactly, and there are different approaches to layer 2 scaling, each with its own pros and cons. There are also other cool technologies being developed, like sharding.
Sharding.
Yeah, it's a way to split the Ethereum network into like smaller chains. Each one can process transactions independently. This could really increase the network's capacity and speed.
Sounds complicated.
It is, but it has the potential to be a game changer for Ethereum's scalability. And then there's the research into new consensus mechanisms, which could be even better than proof of stake.
So the Ethereum world is always changing, always pushing the limits.
Absolutely. It's a dynamic, innovative space. That's what makes it so exciting.
Speaking of exciting, I've been hearing a lot about Web3. How does Ethereum fit into that whole vision of the future?
Well, Web3 is this idea of a more decentralized internet, where users have more control over their data, their online experience, and Ethereum is like a key part of building the infrastructure for that new web.
So it's not just about financial applications anymore. It's about changing the whole internet.
Right. With Ethereum, we can create decentralized versions of a lot of the services we use today. Social media, online marketplaces, even identity systems.
That's a pretty big idea.
It is, and there's still a lot of challenges. But the potential is there to create a more open, more equitable, more user-centric internet.
Starting to see why you're so passionate about this stuff.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the possibilities, the potential to give people more power to build a better future. What does this whole Ethereum thing actually mean for you? Well, that's the best part, right? Ethereum, at its heart, is about giving people power, more control over their data, their money, even their online identity.
When I first started looking into all this, I gotta admit, I felt kind of overwhelmed. It was like this exclusive club for, tech geniuses, full of jargon and complicated ideas. But as I got deeper into your research, I realized it's not as scary as it looks.
Exactly. And I think one of the easiest ways to get started is with those decentralized applications, those dApps, the ones we talked about. They're built on the Ethereum blockchain, free from control by any single company or authority.
So unlike the apps we use every day, where we're kind of at the mercy of big tech, dApps give users more power and control.
Exactly. Imagine a social media platform where you actually own your data, right? And it can't be sold or messed with without your permission. Or a financial app that lets you borrow and lend money directly. Cut out the banks and their fees. These are the kinds of things Ethereum can do.
That's huge. One of the articles you sent talked about farmers in Africa. They were using a dApp to keep track of their crops and get fair prices, bypassing those middlemen who often took a big cut. It's amazing how this technology can really empower people on a global scale.
That's a great example of how Ethereum can level the playing field, create opportunities for people who haven't had access to traditional systems.
So apps sound amazing, but where do you even begin? How does someone who's not a tech whiz get involved?
It's actually easier than you think. There are wallets and platforms that are really user-friendly. You can interact with dApps without needing to understand all the technical stuff. It's like using any other app on your phone.
So you don't need to be a coder to benefit from this tech?
No, not at all. There are plenty of resources, tutorials, communities online. They can, guide you through the basics. And don't be afraid to just try things out. Play around with different dApps, explore DeFi, dip your toes into NFTs. You might be surprised what you find.
And if you do want to go deeper, there are always ways to learn and build your skills. In fact, one of your notes mentioned you were thinking about learning Solidity.
Well, yeah, the demand for blockchain developers is huge right now. And Solidity is the language that powers those incredible smart contracts. It's a great skill to have if you want to be at the forefront of this whole revolution.
So there are opportunities not just to use this technology, but to actually build and shape it.
Exactly. And that's one of the most exciting things about Ethereum. It's a community-driven project. Anyone can contribute.
So it's not just about, investing in crypto or trying to guess the price of Ether. It's about being part of a movement, a global effort to create a more decentralized, a fairer future.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, we're really just at the beginning of exploring what Ethereum can do. As the technology gets better and as new things are invented, the possibilities are going to keep growing.
It's really an exciting time. You know, when I started researching for this, I was looking for answers, for a clear path of where this is all going. But what I realized is the most exciting part is that we're still writing that story.
Exactly. And you, the listener, you're a part of that story. Whether you're using dApps, investing, learning, or just talking about Ethereum, you're contributing to this incredible journey.
So there you have it. Our deep dive into Ethereum. We've come a long way from its early days to its potential to change the world.
We've looked at the technical side, the potential, and most importantly, what it means for you.
Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast.